All right, day four. Day four, we're working on shoulders today. Here I'm starting with a wall walk into a handstand, into kind of a handstand push-up. I'm pretty weak in the handstand push-ups and the handstand movement in general. So it's something that I wanted to work on a little bit more, as well as having that shoulder exercise for the day. Don't usually I do like an overhead press, but this is kind of a good substitute. So handstand push-ups, something I'm working my way up to right now. Just kind of doing those wall walks, getting that shoulder area, kind of building that base strength. Good exercise if you don't have the barbell to do like an overhead press. Here, I'm actually getting a little bit closer there, coming back down. This exercise is pretty tough. Like I'd be careful if you're just starting out and doing this exercise. You know, for me right now, this one is definitely a tough exercise, I would say. You know, there's not a lot of great tutorials on how to like training handstand. Like all of them that I found ask you to do things that are pretty damn advanced right off the bat. Like this is like a basic movement in most resources I've seen online, and I gotta tell you, it's tough. So you know, you're not alone if you're in that boat. But in this case, since we don't have any weights, I'm just trying to get a couple extra reps in to kind of get a little bit closer to failure. Remember, we're always trying to get to state of progressive overload. So with the absence of weights, we have to either increase the number of reps we're doing or increase the tempo, shorten the rest time. Here I'm actually kicking off the wall a little bit, kind of put a little bit more weight on the shoulders, but I'm struggling on this one. This is a much better place to start if you're just looking to get into the shoulder workout. This is kind of an elevated pike push-up, so the more you angle your body vertically to the floor, the better it'll hit your kind of front and shoulder area. Using something to elevate your hands, like I'm using these stools here, will also let you have a little bit deeper range of movement, which will definitely help as well. If you're just doing this on the ground or the floor, it can be tough because your head's going to be in the way. This is a pretty good exercise to start out with. The elevated legs makes it a little bit more difficult. Here I'm trying to really push back and kind of get that angle to be a little bit closer to vertical to the floor. But once you finish up there, then just if the elevated version is a little bit too difficult, then you just choose an easier progression and just go down to the floor and do a pike push up here. Yeah, I mean, after the handstands and the elevated ones, I'm only doing about 4 to 5 reps, if that. So not too bad an exercise. So definitely a good starting point, a good exercise to do to kind of work your push up and kind of your shoulder strength a little bit more. And here we're just gonna finish up. I believe this was the third set. And there's no particular reason I'm doing 3 sets on the exercise. It's just kind of what I'm used to. Here it's kind of like an overhead press, using the resistance bands anchored to the bottom of this metal gate here with a wooden shaft. But I would say that this exercise, I mean, you do feel it in the front delts, but because of the way that the resistance band is loaded, there's a slight forward force, which makes it a little bit uncomfortable because you can only stand so close to the gate to get that range of movement, so you can't quite get it overhead and it's kind of in front of you, so it's a little bit awkward. I wouldn't suggest using resistance bands like this after doing it. Yeah, I mean your front delts are usually overdeveloped anyways, so yeah, I wouldn't recommend that one. But here we're kind of bent over using the resistance bands to kind of hit the rear delt, kind of going into that squat, half squat position, and then doing the exercise like that hits the rear delt a little bit more, where I would say most people should focus their exercise. Most people have their front delts overdeveloped just because of exercises like the bench press, which are hugely popular. So this is an exercise that hits the rear delt and something that you might want to think about incorporating more into your workout if you don't currently. But shoulders, we're just going pretty quick, so we're going right into the side raise. So it's kind of like a side lateral raise. You can imagine doing this with dumbbells as well, just using bands. But they're working out slightly different heads of the deltoid in the shoulder. So yeah, when you do this though, I would try to keep the arm a little bit more extended. Here with the resistance bands, it's a little awkward because of how the load increases as you pull away. But here we're doing some more rear delt exercise, rear delt and back exercise, some face pulls. Fantastic exercise. Should do that maybe once or twice a week, once at least. And then I do a little bit of front raises just to finish out. But like I said, front delts are usually the most developed head of the shoulder, so not super critical and might be detrimental for some too, depending on how big that imbalance is. So more is not always better. Yeah, but these are now here we just going into the second set of all those exercises. So because I don't have I don't have heavy weights to kind of load up on exercises, I try to do some of these exercises in superset fashion, going directly, either switching from left to right or going from a different part of the shoulder or arm in each successive exercise in order to cut down on rest time. The way the human body works is going to be some overlap between all those different groups in the shoulder for each exercise, but they're going to stress a different one for each movement. So getting that quick successive superset type exercise in allows you to get closer to failure than you would at lighter loads. Yeah, see here, the awkward thing about the lateral raise with the band is the load on the band increases as you pull away, so it's not constant. So it's really light at the bottom, but then as you pull up, it gets extremely tight really fast. So it's a little awkward, so you just gotta kind of find that balance if you're doing it with the band. Here, doing it face pull again. And then finishing up with the front raises. So these go by pretty quick. I mean, just a few minutes for all 4 exercises. I think I was actually in the middle of or playing Diablo 3 when I was recording this, so I was trying to get through these pretty quick, or I was just about to get started in Diablo 3. But you can see I'm definitely getting tired going through these exercises. The number of reps I'm doing is going down, and it's getting pretty tough even at the low resistance band weight that I'm using here. The red one is the lightest band in the set that I have. And as you kind of go down through your exercises, depending on whether you're kind of going for a number of reps or maybe a specific time, you definitely want to try to get to failure. Like that's where you want to find a load that's appropriate, that gets you to failure in kind of the rep range that you want, depending on what goals you're aiming for. So here they're, like I said, pretty lightweight, so using the superset really helps. Yeah, I only did like 2 on that face pull. Then here, last exercise. Here after the handstand and the 2 pike push-ups, both elevated and on the ground, front delts are pretty exhausted, so this is pretty extraneous, but I was just doing it for completion. And that's it for shoulder exercise. Only took about a little bit over 10 minutes, about 12 minutes. Once again, you want to incorporate some sort of core workout, ab workout. If you do a heavy weight on like a bench press or a squat, you might need like a day to recover. But I found that since working out the core, you can pretty much do it almost every day without much detriment. Like, it's very, very rarely do I feel sore from doing core workouts, just body weight. However, if you are using weights and doing heavy compound lifts, then you definitely want to do those first, because if your core is compromised and weakened, then it can definitely affect your ability to lift heavier on those big compound lifts. And if you're not careful, you could hurt yourself. So definitely save this for the end. And I do these ab workouts too for a time. I think I'm aiming for a minute when I was making this video, but part of it is also mental fortitude. You just kind of have to push past the point where you think you want to quit, and more often than not you'll have like another 15-20 seconds left, and those 15-20 seconds is where you really get into progress. So you want to push as hard as you can towards the end. Like here, I'm not, it's not the best form. You can try to keep your legs straight if you have the flexibility, but each rep that you're doing here towards the end is going to be very valuable to contributing to developing that strength. We're about to finish up here, and then we're just gonna hit some side lateral raises on the mat with the dumbbells for some added resistance. When working out core, it's important to get some full range of motion incorporated, so don't just do everything like static in the sit-up plane of movement. That's where a lot of people focus most of their exercises, but try to do some side raises, some rotations maybe. Because the core is really about stability and keeping your body stable when you're lifting heavier weights, right? So it's going to need to twist, it's going to need to be dynamic, so you want to train like that in order to avoid injury. And then I just finish it up with the plank here. Isometric plank is a great starting exercise, but as you do it more often, you'll quickly find the difficulty difficulty to be a little bit too low. I think even if you start at like maybe 10-20 seconds, if you do it consistently with other exercises, you'll find that you'll raise your time on the plank pretty quickly. So a lot of people don't recommend it, but there are ways to make it a little bit more difficult, a little bit more advanced. As you get better, you can try to extend your elbows further ahead of you. That makes the exercise a little bit more difficult, but from the like 90-degree position that I have here now, you can also try to kind of pull your elbows back towards your feet, as well as pull your feet towards your elbows, and then kind of keep your core tight, and that can really help that mind-body connection. And here I'm doing a I'm actually not quite sure what this is called, but it's basically like an L-sit position where you're elevating your body off the floor via scapular depression. So that's one thing that you don't really work on, or I never really worked on when I was just lifting with weights. So it's something that I wanted to incorporate in my workout that I just kind of throw in on shoulder days. Scapular depression strength, something that I want to include after going to a little bit more body weight exercise. But here I'm just aiming for a minute total time, so I just take a quick break and I go right back up, and then I think that's gonna wrap up the exercise for today. So yep. All right, well that's it.